Alright, well hello everyone. We are back with our first episode of the tier making series, and this one is the series for Wordle. This is episode 1 where we're going to be ranking stuff for Wordle and Geometry Dash based on several different tiers. Now for Geometry Dash, it's mostly going to be S, A, B, C, D, F. In Wordle, that's not so easy to do. So in Wordle, we're going to have customized tiers. In this case, it's going to be hardest, very hard, and pretty hard, because we're going to be ranking the infamous words from hardest to easiest. The hardest words in Wordle history. The infamous words. So, if you guys have not watched the video on me introducing this little series, it's basically a series that I will do for both Wordle and Geometry Dash, one video per game per week for 10 weeks. Basically, throughout the summer, it's going to end around the first week of September. Wordle videos on Tuesdays, Geometry Dash videos on Thursdays. And this is a Tuesday. Wordle video comes out, which is this. This is episode 1, and we're going to start off pretty simple because it is episode 1. We're just going to be ranking the infamous hard starting words. Well, not hard starting words, crap. The infamous hard words that we've had as answers. So, I made this tier, as you can see, just a single-use tier list, and we are going to quickly rank these words. The Geometry Dash videos are probably going to be generally longer. There's more to yap about. For the Wordle ones, probably a little bit shorter, generally, especially this week's Geometry Dash video is nearly an hour long. This one should be done in about 10-15 minutes, I'm assuming. So we're going to start with the first one, cock. Now, cock doesn't seem that hard off the bat, but it is a very obscure word. The AULK is a weird structure of a word, but it's also an obscure word. So in my opinion, definitely not in the hardest category. It is an infamous word. It was considered a very hard word, but it's a weird structure. The word is obscure. The obscurity of the word is definitely what lowers this down tier-wise. Would I put it under very hard or pretty hard is the question. I'll put it under pretty hard for now. I'll change it if I have to. Catch. Catch is an adge trap, so immediately at least very hard. And the problem is that there's a duplicate C. There was a duplicate C that made it much harder. So for now, I'm going to put this, actually I might put this in the hardest. All the hard mode people are completely screwed with this word. So hardest for now. Alright, so gawky has some awkward letters, and another strange word that was an answer, pretty obscure. I think it's a little bit harder than cock because it has the aw key, a little bit strange, so very hard for now. Nymph has literally no vowels. That's what makes this one hard. So it's not just pretty hard, it's at least very hard. It takes time to think of words that have just absolutely no vowels. So Nymph is gonna probably go in the very hard tier. I'm guessing above gawky. I'm thinking above gawky. Okay, jazzy, the blank A blank blank Y is generally a trap. But here we have a J and a Z, which is why it was one of the infamous hard words. So jazzy was a really hard word. But the J and the Z, in my opinion, it probably does go the hardest. Probably a little bit better than catch. So I'm gonna put it there. Vivid is also hard because it's a double V and a double I. This is the word that took me the longest time ever on this channel. I mean, that was back in 2022 when I was a much worse of a player, but still ridiculously hard of a word. So double V and a double I, that could, I think I was just bad at the time. This probably could just go in very hard also. But probably higher than nymph. So we'll go to highest for very hard. Alright, next is Parer. Now Parer was probably one of the highest fail rates in the history of this game. So obviously it's going to go in hardest. AER trap, it's not that common of a word. Core is going to be the same exact thing as Parer. Now with the OER trap, it's a little bit better than Parer, so it's probably not going to go as high as Core Parer, but it is up there for sure. So those two are both up there. Both super infamous words, ridiculously hard words. Core is even more obscure than Parer, I think, but because it's a blank O, blank ER, in my opinion, it's slightly easier than Parer. Woozy, not gonna go in hardest, probably. Because, yeah, there's double O, ZY. Yeah, this could just go in, like, pretty hard, honestly. I feel like the double O could be easy to, if you get 2 O's, then it gets pretty easy. So Woozy, I'm going to say high pretty hard. Might be a little hot take, but that's my opinion. Okay, Foyer. Now Foyer was an answer during the beginning of my Wordle days as well. Foyer, the main issue is just not knowing the word, I think. Again, same thing. Trap wise, it's the OER. I think it's just gonna go in very hard. But where in very hard is the question. There's a Y. If you get a Y, then you're set. If you get a Y that's like out of position at the end of the word, it's like it's not a terminal Y, that's already like a huge reduction of words. So probably towards the end of, maybe after nymph, I'm gonna say easier than nymph. But it can be harder than gawky because it's a trap. Okay, mummy. Now, mummy, blank U, blank Y is also a trap. Well, obviously, all of these words are pretty trappy. Well, not all of them necessarily, but a lot of these words are trappy. Mummy is blank U, blank Y is pretty trappy. The issue with this is just ummy by itself is also a trap. And this is a triple M. You're tripling up on the M. So the M's are tricky. So mummy is definitely on the harder side for sure. So high very hard or low hardest? Bro, I think it's a little easier than vivid though. So if I put vivid and very hard, then I'm going to say mummy is right below that. Because here's the thing, vivid is just harder to think about. It's not a trap, it's just hard to think about because we won't get too many hints because there's 2 V's. Mummy, you're gonna get hints very quickly. The main problem with mummy is the trap. So I'm gonna put mummy right there. High, very hard. Judge is a trap. I fail this. I put my 3 main failing words up here. So I failed on judge and I failed on Parer too. Actually, I did. But yeah, so there's judge and kayak and krill. 3 words I failed. So judge, but judge was in the list of infamous hard words as well. So of course we're gonna add it. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit. I'm gonna jump the gun here a little bit. You guys, I think, can see inbox right here. Inbox is probably the easiest word in this whole list, in my opinion. I was surprised that this is in the list. I was very surprised that this is in the list. So for me, I would say that's the easiest word on this list. It is definitely pretty hard. I see that because there's an X that's kind of strangely at the end. But and this whole set is the easiest word. Judge. Now judge is there's judge, fudge, budge, nudge. So there are a lot of udge words. So I guess judge could go not in the hardest. Because even art failed. I do remember that. So I guess judge could go after mummy, after nymph, maybe right before. I feel like it's easier than foyer too. around here. Mid very hard, maybe after foyer. I guess. Ooh. Ooh. No. I don't know. That's kind of weird. Is it harder than nymph? No. I'm gonna put it there. I think that's better. That makes more sense. Alright, so kayak. Again, similar to foyer. There's no trap though, that's the difference. Is the double K, the double A, it's a AK ending, but if you get that terminal Y that's yellow, so maybe this is either high pretty hard or low very hard. And then krill is a trap, and with the K, I would say this also goes maybe a little better than gawky, and then kayak is probably around here. Or like, I feel like gawky is a little easier than kayak though. Yeah, okay. It's paracore. Para is the hardest word out of this whole thing. I agree with that. Core, so the hardest, paracore, cat, jazzy. Mummy, I think is barely. Vivid, mummy, I think are barely just very hard. That's the biggest list, as you can see. I have like 8 words here out of the 15 words I had. Vivid, mummy, nymph, very hard. Judge, foyer. I think judge is a little bit harder than foyer because if you get the Y, then you're just absolutely set. So that's why krill is also trap, but the real word, it's always better than an ER trap. Kayak's a little easier, figuring, I think, and gawky, you have an A, I think it should be fine. Woozy is like barely pretty hard, just like slightly under very hard. That should be doable. Cock and minbox are pretty easy. Cock is just an obscure word, that's what the issue with cock is. But otherwise it's an easy word to like get, like letter wise. And then inbox, it has some pretty common letters, it's just the X at the end that's the problem. So that one's the easiest word in the set. So there you go, that is it for this first episode. A quick video here, pretty quick. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys do have any tier creation suggestions, do let me know. I'd be happy to see if I can actually implement those. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.